From The Australian, here's what's on the front. I'm Claire Harvey. It's Wednesday, September 3, 2025. A principal famous for passionately advocating for the safety of Indigenous kids is facing charges of assaulting 5 boys, including alleged choking and ear pulling. Gavin Morris, former principal of a Yiperinya school in Alice Springs, is pleading not guilty, and his lawyer has told a court the incidents have been unfairly characterised. That's today's episode. It's after dark in Alice Springs. And a bunch of kids are joyriding in the school bus, stolen from Yiperinya school. They're weaving all over the road as other drivers scream at them to pull over. Back in 2023, this was one of the sights that horrified Australians. Little kids, not even teenagers yet, running wild in the red centre. Throughout it all, a voice of compassion was Gavin Morris, the principal of Yiperinya School, which is in Araluen, a suburb of Alice.
And these kids have had a gutful of feeling scared and frightened and having to find hidey holes and walking around the streets late at night by themselves because they're not safe to go home.
The setting is insanely beautiful. Huge blue skies, scrubby little blue mallee trees, and in the distance, the sandstone mountains of the McDonnell Ranges reach into the sky. But the community is deeply troubled. Morris has described some of the families at the school who he says are often trying to create loving environments for their kids, living in grinding poverty, sleeping rough in the dry Todd riverbank, or clustered in town camps where conditions are often appalling.
It's not normal behaviour to have 10, 12, 14-year-olds breaking into businesses and homes because they're trying to get a message across. It doesn't justify the behaviour, but it does explain it.
Morris was a warrior for this community living on the traditional lands of the Arrernte people, defending those tearaway kids as less troublemakers, more vulnerable souls desperate for help. It was part of his philosophy about the school being there to help kids transcend their circumstances by having a safe place to go each day to get an education. He was on the Alice Springs Town Council and he'd won government funding to offer boarding facilities so that school kids could focus on their studies.
At 3 o'clock, these buses pick these kids up from school and they drop them back into the town camps, which are absolutely abominations. They don't meet any human rights standard.
Morris laid the blame on the organisations, including territory government agencies, which he said were failing the children.
The tens and tens of millions of dollars which goes into organisations to maintain the town camps, to establish safe housing, safe places for Aboriginal families to live, is absolutely failing.
And then in 2024, Morris was charged with the alleged physical assaults of some of those kids. On Tuesday, his trial kicked off in the Alice Springs local court, where Morris was arraigned on 5 counts of the assault of 5 boys aged from 8 to 13 years. Each charge has aggravating circumstances, that Morris allegedly caused harm to the kids and that he was an adult and they were very young. On each count, Morris pleaded not guilty. And then the media and public were thrown out of the court.
Normally what would happen is that we might hear an opening address from the prosecution, and that did not happen.
Joanna Panagopoulos is the Australian's journalist covering this trial. When the judge proposed closing the court, Joe stood up from the back of the courtroom and asked to be allowed to stay so we could bring our audiences a proper account of the proceedings. Media usually aren't allowed to report the names or details of children who are alleged victims or sometimes even witnesses. But often we are allowed to stay in court so we can, without identifying children, report on what they're saying. In this case, no dice.
So we were denied and sent out.
But here's what we can glean about what this case is actually about. 2 of the counts relate to allegations children had their ears pulled, possibly both at the same time, by Gavin Morris. Another relates to an allegation Morris choked or grabbed a child around the neck. Those details emerged in legal argument before the trial began. So, moments of physical contact where the details are contested. We didn't get to hear the first child witness, but it's clear he's alleged being forcefully held by Morris. That's because a teacher, Oliver Tuo, gave evidence on Tuesday afternoon about what he recalls. Oliver Tuo described an incident where he called Morris to his classroom to help deal with a boy who was shouting, throwing punches and hurling chairs. Tuo said he took the rest of the class to the school kitchen for their own safety and then described seeing Morris and the boy coming out of the classroom. He demonstrated to the court a bear hug where Morris, standing behind the boy, had his arms around him, restraining one arm, while the boy kicked his legs towards railings and shouted, "Let me go." Tuo said he had not seen what had happened inside the classroom between Morris and the boy. He said he asked Morris if he was okay, and Morris said, "Yeah, I've got this." Tuo was asked by the Crown if he recalled ever hearing this particular child claiming he had been choked by Gavin Morris. He said he had not. He was also asked if he was aware of previous incidents involving other children bullying or throwing rocks at this particular child. Tuo said there were many violent incidents at the school and he could not recall any particular occasions like that. It's hard in courts, isn't it, Joe, where we are, as the media, allowed to be there usually for most proceedings. There's often press benches provided for us or somewhere to sit, but it's very difficult to gain information. We often then find ourselves rushing to the registry, begging them to give us documents to try and work out exactly what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, coming into this case, we didn't know anything except that there were 5 alleged charges and they were related to an aggravated assault of someone under the age of 16. And now when we enter the court and sort of we don't get a lay of the land in terms of what Mr. Morris is being accused of, then it's hard to paint a fair and accurate report of what the proceedings will be and sort of what the next 10 days, which it's set down for, could hold.
Coming up, another twist in the story of Gavin Morris. Here's an additional part of the Gavin Morris mystery. Back in 2024, the Australian's national crime correspondent David Murray went to Alice Springs to report on allegations swirling around about another man. At the time, Gavin Morris was one of the people in the community telling Dave he supported the kids to bring forward any allegation of wrongdoing.
I have Aboriginal staff come to me all the time saying, "Gavin, can we do something about the way that we live? It's not enough. I don't deserve to go home and live with this poverty, with this violence. Can you help us?" And I've got the privilege to have the principal position at Ypirnia, and while I'm in this position, I'll be doing whatever it takes to improve the living standards in the town camps, to get kids to school, because the way out of poverty is to get a job and to be on an employment pathway which is rich and purposeful, and we have to address the living standards where these kids are coming from.
Now, both men are before the courts. It's potentially a life-changing moment for Gavin Morris, isn't it? He's left the school, he's let go of his position at the Alice Springs Town Council. There's a lot riding on this.
Yeah, totally. And it feels, I can only say what I'm seeing, but it feels to me, or it appears that he's sort of carrying that with him as he walks in and out of the courthouse. It's huge. I mean, his whole life was here and he was obviously a pillar of this community, embedded in many parts of it. He said before that he wants to clear his name, and I think that's very much what he's trying to do here.
Joanna Panagopoulos is reporting on this trial from Alice Springs, and you can read her coverage by joining our subscribers at theaustralian.com.au.